welcome back. You're watching Overdrive. The TVS Apache RTR 162V has been around for a decade, but this motorcycle now gets some new styling cues and also some new features have been added to it. But does that make this motorcycle relevant for today's times? Let's find out.
When it comes to 150 to 160cc naked motorcycles out here, the RTR series from TVS has always been a force to be reckoned with out here in our market. These motorcycles have a good mix of performance, frugality and ride and handling dynamics. Now, this motorcycle that we have out here today, this is the 2023 TVS RTR 160 2-valve. Yes, it's not the more dynamic and more agile 4-valve variant, but this motorcycle has been on the receiving end of a couple of updates and features. So we are out here today to find out if this motorcycle weighs up well in today's day and age. So let's get right to it. For 2023, the Apache 160 2-valve sports a new refreshed look up front with the new LED headlight designs, DRLs, and there's even a tinted fly screen that sits above all that. Yes, it does look new and refreshing, of course. But then again, not as radical once you look at the more aggressively styled, better looking 4-valve variant of this same motorcycle. In fact, all of the 2-valve RTR 160 models look a lot more docile overall in comparison to the 4-valve variants. Still, variety is the spice of life, so it's never really going to be a bad thing. Draped in red, this bike doesn't grab your attention the same way it does dressed in the all-white color scheme. Still, I quite like the little Indian flags on the headlamp cowl, which look very classy. So, nice touch there, TVS. Now, this is the top-end 160 2-valve model, so it comes equipped with TVS's Smart Connect feature, which allows call and message alerts along with turn-by-turn navigation functions. Yes, the display is all digital now and reads out things like time, trip, fuel level, tachometer and speedometer. The race-themed display also comes with a 0 to 60 kph stop clock and a lap timer thrown in for good measure as well. The bike also gets 3 ride modes, rain, urban and sport, where ABS involvement as well as the power output is dialed down a bit depending on which mode you've selected. Moving back to the tank, you have a 12-litre reservoir with tank scoops designed to channel air towards the engine. Again, not all that aggressive looking and not as attractive as the 4-valve model. The lower part of the bike looks neat, with the sharp engine cowl and exhaust now grabbing some attention with the shiny branded metal strip on it. The 2-valve also gets a familiar tail section with new distinct LED tail lamp design, which is sure to divide opinion. Powering the Apache 160 2-valve is a 159.7cc air-cooled single-cylinder motor that puts down a little over 16 PS of max power and a little under 14 Nm of max torque in sport mode. Now these figures are dialed down to around 10 PS of max power and 13 Nm in urban and rain modes respectively. Power delivery of the engine is smooth, but then it isn't as refined as that of the 4-valve model, with the engine pulling very neat and cleanly to about 9000 RPM. It makes the older generation 2-valve RTR 160 feel a little rough around the edges, but then again it isn't as modern as the 4-valve variant of this same motorcycle. The motor feels very tractable in the city as well, allowing you to pull away from low speeds easily in 4th and 5th or top gear. The bike will get up to around 60 kmph very easily, and it feels as though you could cruise along at this speed all day, with the engine in its sweet spot. Need to carry out an overtake, bring the throttle a bit, and the bike is very willing to do so. Just that it feels a bit gruff and it lacks the intensity and finesse of the 4-valve version of this bike. The bike also gets single pedal disc brakes at either end, and these work very nicely in bringing this RTR to a halt at all speeds in a very composed manner with the single channel ABS aboard. Like its engine, this bike's suspension setup, which includes a telescopic fork up front and twin gas shocks with spring aid on either side at the rear, well, this seems to manage things just fine in the city. But after riding the RTR 160 4-valve, well, the compression and rebound of the adjustable monoshock at the rear of that bike just appears to complement the chassis and the bike's overall ride and handling dynamics a lot better. Alright, so in terms of ride and handling, the TVS Apache RTR 160 2-valve. In the city, it will pretty much handle everything that you will come across, from
weirdly shaped speed breakers to ruts and odd and uneven surfaces. Well, this motorcycle will handle it pretty well, and it's very pliant for city speeds at around 50 to 60, even 70 kph. Out on the highway, it's fairly manageable. It's very comfortable rather. But out on the highway, the rear suspension, well, I thought it could be better. It does tend to upset you a bit, especially if you have a pillion seated behind you. And in terms of the riding position, the taller you are on this motorcycle, the more uncomfortable you will feel, because the handlebar, as you can see, it is sort of flat, but the legs, your legs will keep you in a slightly more committed position that you will pretty much fancy over a long stint in the saddle, because short stints, very easy to manage out there on this motorcycle out in the streets, but on longer stints, your legs will feel cramped in this position. Now, there's some things up here with the TVS Apache RTR 162 valve. Now, this motorcycle will set you back by 1,25,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi. And for that price, well, you still get a compelling package in terms of performance, ride and handling, and frugality as well. But then again, this is the top-end variant. There are cheaper variants, two other variants that sit below this, the two-valve variant. And once you actually look at TVS's menu out here in India, you will see that the four-valve variant, which has, well, a stronger engine and a better suspension setup and better dynamics all throughout, well, that motorcycle will just cost you rupees 5,000 in addition to the cost of this one. So would I particularly spend 1,25,000 rupees ex-showroom on this motorcycle? No, I wouldn't. I would rather put down 5,000 bucks more and buy the four-valve variant of this motorcycle.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter, as well as YouTube, and you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.